If you are tired of procrastinating on every essay that you write and just want to know the secrets to writing amazing essays in just a fraction of the time, then this video is for you. We've all been there before. You try to start writing out your essay, but you just can't figure out what to write, and before you know it, you've wasted an entire hour with nothing to show for it. Well, the reality is it doesn't have to be this way, and writing amazing essays is so much easier than people make it out to be. And I'll be giving you the step-by-step guide that I use to help me get A's on every single essay that I write with just a few hours of work. The first piece of essay writing advice is learning to craft the structure of your essay before you even start writing. Now, this tip is absolutely crucial for destroying procrastination that often comes when you're writing your essay. Basically, the second that you get an essay assigned to you, I want you to write down a general structure of what your essay is going to be going over, along with a couple of topics that you think you're going to cover. For example, in my most recent essay where I talked about AI in education, the second I knew about the topic I was going to go over, I quickly jotted down a general structure for my introduction, along with some of the points that I knew I'd want to cover throughout my essay. So for each of the topics that you have for your body paragraphs, I want you to jot down a couple of things that you'll need to research or explain later on in your essay so that you know what you need to look up later as you're actually starting to write out your paper. And at this point, regardless of how good it actually is, I want you to write out as much as you can of the general structure of your essay, and even include a couple of full sentences for your bullet points while you're in this state of high energy and high critical thinking. Because having too many words and then cutting down afterwards is way better than having less in the first place. Now, your writing at this point definitely does not have to be perfect, and you will likely have to make a lot of changes later on. But the reason jotting any and all possible points that you might want to talk about in your essay is so important is that now you have completely destroyed the initial barrier that was preventing you from starting in the first place. By creating a solid foundation for yourself in the general gist of the kind of essay that you want to write and its structure, you will no longer be stuck just staring at a blank piece of paper, since you have already grinded and put in the initial work that you need to ultimately succeed. Now, even if you do take a break from your essay and then come back later, this will put you in two very good situations. The first is that you ultimately approve of the format that you've initially created for yourself. Since you have already put in all of the hard work to create a general format, you now have to put in less energy in your later paragraphs because you've already created this strong foundation for yourself. The second situation is that the initial writing that you did just doesn't quite feel right. But this is okay as well, since you've already created a general format of the points that you want to cover, so you just have to revise them in a way that makes more sense to you and your argument. Now that you have the overall skeleton of your paper, we're now on to phase 2, which is get in the zone. In this phase, your goal is to write a significant chunk of your paper, ideally a paragraph, all in one go and as quickly as possible. So first, you need to set a very specific time for yourself to complete that paragraph. As I've said in a previous video, think about how much time it will actually take for you to write that paragraph, and then give yourself around 75% of the time to actually complete it. So if you think writing out that paragraph is going to take you an hour, give yourself only 45 minutes. While it may seem a little counterintuitive to give yourself less time to write out your paragraph, this is actually really good because this time element will help you to go all in on your focus, since any distractions that you have will ultimately prevent you from reaching that time-constrained goal. And remember that in the end, you can add more time to write some more, but you can never get back the time that you wasted procrastinating, scrolling on your phone. Now that you have a very specific time to complete this paragraph, you need to set up a general format for your paragraphs later on as well. I'm assuming you're probably writing some kind of essay that requires evidence and analysis, so for your paragraph, you should use the CER method, which stands for claim, evidence, and reasoning. At the very beginning of your paragraph, you want to make a claim, the C, or make a statement about what your overall paragraph will be discussing. Then you want to state each piece of evidence and provide a thorough analysis that helps to prove why your evidence supports your claim. Now, I won't go too in-depth about how to write a thorough analysis, but what I will say is that one of the things that's really helped me when writing out my essays is to think about my analysis from the perspective of the reader. The reality is that you may understand the evidence, but the analysis portion is to convince the reader of your position. So your analysis should have at least 2 sentences, with the first explaining the context and what the evidence actually means, and then the second explaining why that piece of evidence ultimately supports your argument. And as you're doing this, write from the perspective of the person who's actually going to be reading your essay, considering what kinds of questions or doubts that they might have about your argument, and then tailoring your analysis towards their thinking. Once you adopt this mindset, you will become so much more convincing in your writing, because you're getting out of your own head and actually writing your essay in the shoes of of those who are actually going to be reading it. Then for your concluding sentence, you want to wrap up your paragraph, stating why this evidence proves your position and how it contributes to your overall argument. Now repeat this process for all of your body paragraphs, not worrying too much about if it's perfect or not, since we'll be getting to that in a little bit. Now we get to the third step, which is the revision process. At this point, you should have a rough draft of all parts of your essay, including the introduction, the body paragraphs, and the conclusion. Now is the chance to really polish your essay and make your arguments shine. So pass around your essay to your classmates, asking them if there were any parts that they found confusing or things that they wanted a little bit more elaboration on. And if you can, talk to your teacher about the parts of your essays that you don't feel are as strong. Your teacher is probably going to be the one that's going to give you the best advice, because obviously they're the ones that are going to be grading your paper. So you definitely want to check in with them to make sure that you're on the right track. Now, once you have continually implemented this process of refining your essay and taking in all of the feedback from your peers, you should now be in a very, very good spot to get an A on your essay. The key is constantly taking new feedback and improving your essay. And if you follow the steps that I mentioned and are making sure that you stay completely focused on your writing, the overall time that you put into completing your essay will only be a couple of hours and you will still get amazing results. Congratulations, you should be really proud of the essay that you've created. And know that your writing will continually develop over time as long as you're making sure to stay consistent and improve on your writing. If you found this video helpful, I'd appreciate it if you subscribe and like the video. And let me know in the comments if there are any other topics that you'd like me to cover. But again, thank you so much for watching. Get that 100% on your essay, and I will see you in the next one.